Hello everyone. Today I will be interviewing someone who is slightly different from my usual interviews because of the choice of subject. Jeremy Hazan holds a Bachelor in Science in Applied and Engineering, Mathematics, Biostatistics from the University of Paris and is currently pursuing a dual degree Masters in Applied Information Systems, Healthtech from Cornell and Technion. His field of study is unique, so let's hear more about it from Jeremy himself. So, hi Jeremy. Um, since
Hello.
since I've kind of given an introduction to your studies already, could you tell us something about who you are and your journey so far?
Yes. My name is Jeremy Hazan. I am a French-American student who happens to have a background, exactly as you told, in applied engineering mathematics. So it's purely oriented into math, a bit applied into biology and medicine. Last year, I wanted to do a master's degree in the US, and I've actually bumped into a really interesting program called Dual MS degree in Applied Information Science and Health Tech within an institute that was created both by Cornell and the Technion in New York City in a new tech campus. So it's a really oriented into engineering. And what was really interesting in the program is the openness, since it is something that has the ambition of revolutionizing academia in globally speaking, since it does drive projects such as capstone projects, but it's still very oriented into entrepreneurial mindset. We have a lot of teachers from INSEAD background, I mean, who were actually teachers at INSEAD and Wharton in entrepreneurship. And they wanted us to conduct both the experience with big companies, like as a consultant for many issues that are regarding either health tech companies or tech companies, globally speaking, and also try to build our own products or our own services or technology from start to finish during the whole program. So this was something I was really interested in doing so, and that is why I applied, and I am currently on it. Yeah.
So, health tech, this is something that not many people have heard of. So, if you could explain it to a layman, like suppose me, how would you explain it?
Okay, so I think the most interesting thing to say is that today, health tech is what biotech was 20 years ago, when everything exploded in like Wall Street journals, when there was a boom before the e-crack in 2001. It was something that was very trendy to say about biotech, and nobody really understood what it meant. Today, the trend is more oriented into health tech, and now more than ever with the COVID pandemic situation. And I would say even starting from 5 to 10 years, most of I think it's something that came from all the big tech giants, CEOs, who are now really oriented into like going further than just bringing new tech to people. I think the most important fact for them is to bring more importance into our health and in the large global aspect of the health, which means that it's all the way from public health with medicine, all the way down to mental health and the global health situation, which means that we want to live better, we want to live longer. And these are all the instruments and technic inventions and innovations in order to help us live better, longer, faster. One given really huge example is around predictive medicine. I don't know if you heard about a tech company called Grail, who was actually backed up by big names such as Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, whose main purpose is to conduct predictive medicine tests in home or in labs. And the one that are in labs are blood tests, where you can gather information in order to find out if you have the potential of having a cancer. And determining this earlier on helps people or future patients get relief in terms of the treatment and having more and more chances of being saved. So this is one of the examples, and there are plenty others. It's really oriented into that.
Okay, that sounds quite futuristic. So you have different kinds of things from preventive diagnostics to other stuff. Okay, I think I understood a little bit of it. So yeah, how is your experience so far? How has Cornell been for you right now? How is the experience there? Taking into fact that COVID is prevalent, how are your classes going on?
So I think, as you've heard, in July, there was something with going on with President Trump, who decided to act against international students, eventually most in the US.
Yes.
So what happened is that eventually the US, major US universities responded into not giving only online classes, but a hybrid model. So I'm currently enrolled into a hybrid model for the fall of this year. It is really interesting because I have access to the campus, and thus I can meet with every students that are enrolled into either my program or other programs such as the MBA, such as LLM, such as other things they offer in this graduate school. And so this is pretty interesting. The online experience has been also interesting, but I think what is really cool is getting access to all the amenities, getting to meet people, getting to meet the teachers that are here, and also some of the classes that are in person, because I do have classes in the medical hospital of Cornell, which is also in New York. I do have classes remote with teachers from Ithaca, which is upstate New York, the real campus of Cornell. And I do also have the classes directly in my campus, which is in Cornell Tech in New York. So far it has been really interesting to be here, and I think it would have been harder being from where I come, because I come from Paris. I was in Paris first, and I hope that things are going to get better and that we'll have in-person classes starting in January.
Yeah, okay, you start in January. Yeah, you reminded me, since we talked about President Trump, we just got the news today that he has also tested positive for COVID, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, this application process to this program, is it similar to business programs? Do you have to give the GMAT, GRE? What is the process?
Yes, exactly. We do have to get the GRE, actually, because when it's more oriented to engineering sciences, it's usually the GRE that is required. It depends. Some schools accept GMAT, but it's more oriented to business programs. I think this year, from what I've heard from many schools, I heard about MIT, I heard also about Cornell, that they might not be conducting the GRE test for students for 2021. Which is a bit because of the situation of the global pandemic. But usually, yes, you need to take the GRE. You need to have 2 to 3 letters of recommendations. There's one really important letter of motivation, which is really focused on giving the impact of what you did before on your background and why you could be a good match with both the Cornell program and both the Technion, because it's a dual MS degree. So this is also really important to have knowledge on those 2 schools. And regarding the GRE, like everybody, like all the schools who are telling that they don't give actual scores in order to check whether you will be accepted or not. What I do recommend is having really, really good scores in quantitative rather than the verbal. Verbal is important for sure, but as long as you have a really good TOEFL or IELTS in English, it's fine not having the best verbal, but quantitative is really important.
All right. So since Dr. Hubert Silly, he's with the MBA Center, and mostly we usually we work with MBA, MIM, MIF applicants. So how did you meet Dr. Hubert Silly, and what was his contribution to your program? I am actually curious, because this is a different field from what I have worked so far. So
Of course. So what was really interesting is that I started first because of the GRE. I started having classes with one of Mr. Silly's colleague. And his colleague actually called me one day and told me that it would be interesting for me, perhaps, if I needed to get an advice and further get like recommendation in order to build my motivation letter and like work really hard into the interview process if I were to be accepted during the written part, the first part. And I've eventually met with Dr. Silly. It was really interesting because he has helped me from start to finish into first getting to know my background, getting to know my personality, and the psychological aspect of my orientation, of my future orientation, which was really interesting. It was the first time that I have seen a teacher doing so in the like building processes for getting into master's degree. He directly saw the potential on my background that I could apply to either some masters I haven't thought about or masters I've thought about, but interesting facts that I would have not mentioned if not being with him. And also he was very interesting into the part of the curriculum vitae because he has helped me having a different approach from all his background and knowing that he has formed and trained people going into the best MBAs in the world and even some really interesting masters, and even for him because he does have a PhD from a great US university. So this was a huge help, and I think that the final big help was the interview process. He has helped me mastering the questions, the potential questions, and to be totally honest with you, I had like around approximately 10 questions, technical or not, and he helped me getting like straight A's, I think, into 9 out of 10. So it's a big thing.
That's actually a huge contribution, I would say. Anyway, so yeah, I think Hubert, Dr. Hubert will be very happy to hear this. So yeah, final question for you, since this is supposed to be a very short interview. So what advice would you give candidates who want to pursue health tech in the coming years but do not know much about the field? What would you tell them?
Of course. So to start with, I think what is really interesting is getting to read, like in every field, newspapers. There are a lot of really interesting articles, whether technical, like if you have articles from TechCrunch, if you have articles from the MIT Technology Review, things like this, or more oriented to business, because there's a big boom in this industry. The company I talked to you before, Grail, has just been valued at $8 billion and is going to have an IPO pretty soon. So there's a really huge backup from a really important person because it's a really important matter nowadays. I think that we're going to hopefully lean into the major big tech companies might be major health tech companies in the years to come. Like we had this in the 1990s with Amazon, Google, Apple, and everything. I think this is going to be the next big move with COVID and the impact it had on us. So for sure, I'm not sure that a pandemic will happen or occur anytime soon after this one, but still having to use many engineering fields such as optimization, operations research, machine learning, AML, and everything, in order to be more straightforward into accompanying patients, helping solve the problems. And if we do have more greater techniques in machine learning, engineering, and everything, we could have helped save many more lives during the COVID. So this is a really important thing to get us to know. So I would recommend reading this and checking out all the new cool health tech innovations when they do so, because there are plenty of really interesting things that are now doing either predictive medicine or global public or mental health issues. Even the fact that we live in cities and we are polluted with so many things, information, lighting, the fact that we are all the time in the rush and we don't have the same quality of life that we used to have when we used to live in this, in remote areas. So
like just 20 years back.
Yeah.
Not very far off. Okay. So yeah, thank you. I mean, that was a beautiful thing, and I hope people are inspired seeing this. And frankly, health tech is something that needs to move fast because the world is moving very fast. And if pandemics like the COVID come regularly, which people are predicting that it might be a regular occurrence, I think health tech is the only way forward. So yeah, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time today, and hopefully we'll
Thank
see
you.
you for a webinar. We will figure it out when and how, and then I'll try to get people to talk to you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.